Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Hook the Line. Today is Friday, so that means it is going to be picks day for college football. We are in week 12. My gosh, the season has flown by. It's gone super, super fast. We're in week 12, and we got some big matchups today, so I'll walk through some of the marquee matchups that we'll do today, and then we'll get into deep sea dogs, which if you have watched before, you'll know what that is. I'll explain it right after. The games we're going to be doing today, South Florida at Navy, a big one for the group of five. You got Notre Dame at Pitt. That's going to be college game day. We also got some boots on the ground there for some of our friends. We got Oklahoma going on the road to Alabama. Oklahoma beating Alabama last year. Alabama trying to get revenge this year. Kind of a play in, play out game for Oklahoma. And then we got Texas at Georgia late night in Athens. That's going to be really fun. So fun to
That's
talk about all these games. Yusko, how are you doing today?
doing good, man. Big win for the Boilers on the hardwood last night. I know we actually both faded them, but can't be happier, man. What a way to go. What a way to start. Trey Wren getting back is huge. Totally unlocks our offense and defense and rebounding. Actually, everything we do. So good to see that happen. And yeah, on to the football slate for tomorrow. Got a couple good ones. A lot of playoff factor games. I know we touched on it in our other video that'll get put up later, but yeah, should be an exciting week and exciting Saturday, I guess. One
Yeah.
day.
No, it should be very fun. Very happy with the Purdue Boilermakers. And sometimes you got to fade your own team in order to bring success. So we made the greater sacrifice yesterday of fading the team, and then they proved us wrong. So always happy when that happens.
Of
Never
course,
gonna
of
be
course.
I take my team over my picks any day of the week. So we're fine with that. And then we'll go ahead and get right into it. We'll get right into deep sea dogs. So this segment, if you guys are new again, is just going to be we're going to pick a deep sea dog, aka an underdog that's playing either a ranked team or just a big, big underdog in the slate for this week. You're going to pick them. You get 5 points if they cover the spread, 10 points if they outright win. And we made history last week, as it was the first week where we both were correct. It was also the first week where we both rode the same team. Wake Forest money line.
Yes, sir.
Write it down. Virginia was a fraud. We knew that. We said that. And it came out true. It couldn't have worked out any better for us.
Yeah, that was huge. Wake's defense is like kind of good for some reason. I don't know what it is, but they shut him down and got us back in the win column for the deep sea dogs. That was huge. I was on a little bit of a drought there in terms of outright winners, so that's big. It's big for me, big for us, big for the program. Let's continue to roll.
Oh, yeah. So let's get right into it. Do you want to start or do you want me to lead off?
You know what? I'll start because mine actually makes no sense, and nobody's gonna watch this game, including myself.
Oh,
But
no.
him and I had a conversation off camera, off podcast about just like how the randomness of college football, right? And we both were like, "Oh, damn! It's a shame the Pac-12 is gone, but they got two teams still left in there, right? And they play each other twice a year, which I actually didn't know. It's interesting to find, and they played each other last week in an absolute barn burner that finished 10-7 in favor of Oregon State over Washington State. And I was like, "What? Like, why? What is that?" And I really struggled to find a deep sea dog this week. I didn't really like any of the games worth watching, so I was like, let's get weird again.
Do it.
Yes, follow the podcast. It's definitely not something you would follow with like your own currency or hard-earned money, but I'm gonna do it for the memes, for the funds, for the laugh. I'm taking Louisiana Tech over Washington State at 10 p.m. tomorrow. I don't know what that is about, but I'm fading Washington State. They put up 7 points against Oregon State. It's kind of embarrassing. Um, and I don't even know what the line is, actually. Funny enough. I think Washington State's getting a lot of points. That's kind of why I was like, why are they getting points after that abysmal performance? But I think they're at home. So if you really care to watch, take them because it's 10 p.m. Nothing else is really going on there. Maybe you're at the bar, or maybe you're still up with nothing to do, and you can't get enough of college football. Maybe a little sprinkle or something. But that's what I got for you this week.
Wow.
Take it, take it. Don't take it.
Out
That's
of
my
nowhere.
there's my ball knowledge. Absolutely random. But yeah,
Well, I'll
You
tell
take
you
it
how
away.
you just helped out there. You're gonna help out a lot of people who lost bets throughout the day and are chasing at the end of the night looking for a 10 p.m. bet, and then they come here and they find that there's one waiting for them. So that's what that deep sea dog is gonna be good for. If you miss on everything throughout the day, you got Louisiana Tech.
That's a gross football game. Don't watch it. But and if you're really that down bad to chase your bets, we're gonna have a serious conversation. So
We'll put the hotline number up somewhere.
yeah, 1-800 gambler. But
Oh,
take us into yours.
yeah, we definitely know some people that need to use that at some point. So, um, yeah, we'll go straight into mine. So that's a weird game. I'm gonna stick with a Power Four conference. But all credit to you. If Louisiana Tech gets the job done, there's nothing we can say. So I'm gonna go to the Big Ten. So normally we stick with the ACC
Okay.
because that seems to be
Okay.
the weird results of the Big 12. I'm gonna go risky a little bit with the Big Ten, where there aren't a lot of huge upsets, things like that. And I'm gonna pick a team that's playing at home. Let's play it a little bit better. A lot of people think they're a bottom of the barrel team. They remind me a little bit of how Mississippi State sits in the SEC, of that they can beat anybody on any given night, but they're probably not going to. They're probably going to find a way to lose. But on the off chance that they don't screw it up one time, I'm going to be taking the Northwestern Wildcats plus 10.5 at home against the Michigan Wolverines. Now, Michigan,
Yes. That Wrigley Field, by the way.
that is at Wrigley Field.
Yes.
I didn't even know you could play football there. So
Yep.
that's a new one. But I think overall, this Michigan team has not impressed me entirely. And a little bit of this comes from me, being a Purdue fan and watching Purdue versus Michigan last week at home for Michigan. And it was 21-16. And honestly, if you watched enough of that game, Purdue had chances to go win that game, multiple chances that they should never have. Purdue is a dreadful team. We're just going to say it like it is. And they should never have had as many chances as they did to win that game. I think Northwestern is a similar team, but still way better than Purdue. So I think at home, they may be able to get the job done if Michigan keeps playing around with fire a little bit. So if anything, though, this is a lot for the spread cover. 10.5, I think, is the perfect number, where they might lose exactly by 10, and I'll be okay with that. So that's what I'm going with. Northwestern Wildcats. Lock it down.
Like it. Shout out the Big Ten. It's a low total too, 41.5. Probably gonna be windy at Wrigley, as it usually is on that lake. Sure it is for their home games too, but game's probably gonna get won and decided in the trenches. So hopefully, the Cats can pull it out.
Yeah, and if anything, Michigan probably will have the edge with that, but it'll just be a slow game and it'll be low scoring enough to where it's semi close, even if the game doesn't feel that way. So hopefully we
Anything
can
can
snag
happen.
some points off the board. I think I'm still 10 points behind you because we got the same amount of points. The one downside of choosing the same deep sea dog last week, we both got points. So
Oh.
10 points behind. I need one. Hopefully this will work out. Hopefully Louisiana Tech will get stomped out. So we'll see. But that'll conclude Deep Sea Dogs. If you guys have your own Deep Sea Dogs, make sure you put them down in the comments. Love to see who you're riding with as a big upset. There are some potential big upsets this week. Just going to put it out there. There's a lot of teams playing on the road that are good football teams that are pretty big underdogs. So if you're looking for some upset picks, this is a good week for it. And we'll go into the marquee games. We'll start with probably the lesser known game of any of the big ones this week. It's the only one that's not going to be a ranked matchup, but that is going to be the group of five game. We've got USF at Navy, so the American Conference. We've got some fireworks. I mean, Navy technically is still in the hunt. USF is the number one ranked group of five team currently in the college football playoff rankings. I know James Madison's hanging around there a little bit, but USF going on the road to Navy. It's always weird playing Navy. And one thing we know about our military schools is that even if they lose 10 games in a season, they're always going to show up for the next one?
Yep, absolutely. Definitely a weird one, but um, it matters in that group of five spot for the playoff. These two teams are actually at the top of the American, so they're still playing. They're fighting for a spot to get into the playoffs, play on a national stage. Um, Navy just played Notre Dame. I actually watched that game back a little bit. They hung in there a little bit off the bat. So Navy's a really hard team to prepare for with their option offense and all the things that they do offensively. But I like their quarterback. Uh, he's their leading rusher, leading passer, obviously. Um, they cause a lot of misdirections that puts pressure on your linebackers, which is, it's cool. It'll get you, eight wins, maybe, hopefully. At the end of the day, they're just playing to beat Army at the end of the year. Um, and that brings us to South Florida, who's a team that's consistently played well all year. To be honest with you, they had a really tough non-conference schedule. Started with Boise State, one in the swamp, right, and then they played Miami, which they lost. But outside of that, they played really well. They lost to Memphis, but they had that game in their hands. To be honest with you, they lost a possession where they went for it on fourth and short in the red zone, up by 7, I believe, and they could have pushed it to 2 scores, which ended up hurting them because they had a field goal to technically tie the game, but it could have been to win. So they could have been playing overtime and only have one out of conference loss at this point. I know you've pumped up their quarterback a little bit. He is legit. He's a big guy, hard to bring down, good passer, good runner, right? So I think they take this one. I mean, Notre Dame. Navy didn't really make a lot of adjustments defensively against Notre Dame. Like I was watching them run the same defense in the fourth quarter as the first quarter, and that's not what it takes to be a team that's actually playing well like USF. So I'll take them, and I'll take them to win by a good amount. I'll say 42-24. That offense is electric, and it's too tough for Navy to handle.
All right, so you said one more time the score. I think I just missed that one.
42-24.
32 to 24. All right, so you got them covering. The spread is 9.5. I meant to mention, and then the over under is 62 and a half.
Oh,
Yeah,
so we're going over.
yeah, going over in a Navy football game. Who would have thought
It's
that?
probably not smart, but screw it.
I don't hate it. I watched, so I took as one of my deep sea dogs, burn me once again a few weeks back. I took Navy against North Texas. So I actually ended up watching a lot of that game. Not really my most enjoyable experience ever, but I did it. And Blake Horvath threw for 80 yards and 2 interceptions, and they also lost a fumble. And all I needed was them to cover plus 7.5, and they lost by 14. So Navy had opportunities. I watched this game. They had so many opportunities. They fumbled in the red zone on like the first drive, and then they threw 2 picks, both of which were also in the red zone. So every time I thought that this was going to be okay, it was not. Literally every time. And Blake Horvath made one of the worst throws I have ever watched to get the ball picked off at the end of the game. Literally a moon ball from Russell Wilson, but instead of going 40 yards, it went 15 and
Oof.
just hung up there and waited. There was no pressure, no nothing. Don't even worry about it. Like it was a corner fade that went nowhere near the corner and just was terrible. So for that reason, I'm gonna be quick. I'm gonna give USF 41, Navy 27. So I'm also going the over there and USF to cover that. I think Navy's gonna keep it close for a while, but this USF offense, Navy for them to win, they need an offense that is not going to be able to just create explosive play after a close explosive play. Like this offense won 63 to 39 against North Texas. I mean, they've put up points consistently all year. So I think they're just going to do that again. And Navy just doesn't have the athletes. I wish them all the best of luck, but doesn't have the athletes to compete with it. And that one throw really just pissed me off. So a little bit of an anger pick. 41-27, South Florida. Give me that.
Yeah, hopefully it's gonna be a big game for South Florida. Obviously on the road and a chance to cement themselves as a top team in the American and play for a conference champion. So it's a good one at noon.
Yeah, no, that's also the thing. Is like, you got a team playing for their playoff hopes, and normally when that happens, the better team tends to prevail. Just in situations where both teams are playing for playoff hopes, that's where you really get to see the best of the best. People start to shine. So I
Yep,
just too much talent on that South Florida side of the ball.
absolutely.
So that one's pretty easy. That'll still be a fun game. I'll probably turn it on for a little bit. I like watching Navy's offense for from time to time, not the entire time though. And then secondly, we'll go college game day. This game, I believe, is at 3:30. We're gonna have some friends there, some Notre Dame fans, some Pitt fans. This is Notre Dame at Pitt, so this is a ranked matchup. I actually didn't realize how well Pitt was doing until only a couple weeks ago, but they have found their way into the ranking, and they have actually found their way having a game like this, and if you look at the rest of their schedule, they probably do control a little bit of their own destiny to have a shot if they were to win out. Now, that would require them being very good. I'm not sure how good they actually are. So the total for this is 53 and a half, and the spread is 12 and a half towards Notre Dame. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, so this game is actually at noon, so it will be on the same time
Okay.
as Navy in South Florida. But regardless, this is a Notre Dame team that's continues to play for their season, right? They can't lose again if they want to be hosting a playoff game or even playing in a playoff game come December, right? And I think they're just simply, clicking on offense. TJ Carr has played a lot better. You know, they haven't played a lot of tough opponents since A&M and Miami, but right when you're Notre Dame, I think this 12-team playoff benefits them the most because right they can still have two bad losses and get in and then play all these different teams that show you a lot of different looks that make you prepare you for the playoffs, which is hats off to them. They've been trying to make noise on the national stage for a while now. Um, and I think they do. I think that they handle business in this game. I think, Jeremiah loves, going to do what he does game in and game out. I think CJ Carr just needs to play a clean game, deliver the ball to his receivers. They got great guys on the outside that they throw to one-on-one, right? So they can just beat you a ton of different ways. So for a team like Pitt that's, going to either have to sell out on one of those run or pass or try to play both, you're still going to get beat. And I don't think it's going to be a fun day for them. I know it's at home. They get game day. It's probably exciting there in West Pennsylvania, but it's a murder. I got Notre Dame winning 38-21, 17 points, three scores. I mean, I just don't see how Pitt is going to be able to stop Notre Dame, to be honest with you. Um, I think this is a mismatch in all three phases. We'll see how Pitt, comes out, maybe responds in the second half, but I don't think that it's going to be enough to hang in there with the Fighting Irish. So once again, final score is 38-21 in favor of Notre Dame.
All right. So you're heavy. You're heavy on the over. I like that.
Yep,
Same
I
thing.
think so.
Over. I think you made a great point. This is a mismatch. Any way you look at it, like athletes on there, scheme, coaching, literally every part of football. This is a mismatch. The only thing that's in Pitt's favor is it is at home, um, which is, I haven't seen a ton of Pitt games. I've heard that they are fun and that they get a little bit rowdy. And anytime Notre Dame's coming to your town, you're probably going to get rowdy. So
Right.
it should be a fun atmosphere. So I actually do expect them to put up decent amount of points. Side note, they've got a new quarterback that they switched about 5 weeks ago. We looked at him, actually pretty good stats. However, he is a little bit turnover prone, and he's also been sacked 16 times. Which, if you get sacked 16 times in 5 games, and then you have to go play Notre Dame and their defense and the way they scheme up pressure and the fact that they run man across the board and will just blitz the hell out of you sometimes. Notre Dame's probably going to get at least 4 sacks in this game, like at minimum. And if you get into third and long against some teams, NC State, Stanford, I'm looking at the teams they played. You could probably convert third and long. You're probably not converting third and long against
Absolutely not.
quite often. So I think they're going to be chasing a lot of this game. So they're going to be throwing. And I think the quarterback is good enough to put up points, like I said. But I just think this game's going to get out of hand, turn into a bit of a track meet. And I think Notre Dame's just going to handle business, simply put. So I've got 48-27. I have Notre Dame putting up a huge number at 48 points. I honestly don't think Pitt will get more than 2 stops on this Notre Dame offense. I think Jeremiah Love's the best back in the country. I think like you said, their offense is clicking. CJ Carr has looked better and better. And, if they hadn't lost those 2 games at the beginning of the year, I think maybe trap game, but I'm not thinking that anymore. They know what's on the table. They know what's at stake. They're going to get it done.
Right.
But yeah, 48-27, a 21-point win covering the spread and the over by a good amount. So that's what I got.
Yeah. Regardless of score, point differential this is all Irish.
Yeah, I agree. So, best of luck. Hopefully it's close for a half so our boys that are there at game day can can
Get a
have a
good
fun
game.
experience.
Yeah,
Should be a good time. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's probably going to be a massacre at noon. And
no doubt.
with that, we will move into the 3:30 game before we get into the night game, which we're going to go to the SEC. Another ranked matchup. We got number 11 Oklahoma, who just got a huge win at Tennessee. Really an unexpected win, I think, from both of us. We both had Tennessee kind of
Yeah,
moving on in that. And Oklahoma comes out and just plays their best football they've played probably since playing Michigan early in the year. And now they go on the road to Tuscaloosa for their biggest test of the season, playing the Alabama Crimson Tide. The spread is 5.5 for Alabama, which honestly, a little bit tighter than I expected it to come out at, but fair. And then the over under is a pretty low 46.5 points. So go ahead and give me your.
yeah. Um, this is a good one. I think it would be maybe a little bit more interesting if the home and away was reversed. Maybe we see Alabama go on the road to Oklahoma after a big win, but it's in Tuscaloosa, which is always tough for anyone. Um, but I think this is a good test for Alabama after playing a resilient game against South Carolina. This is probably top two defense in the SEC, right? Regardless of what you want to say about Mateer and that side of the ball, like this is still a really good defense that's been able to control games and Chambers dice them up, but still. Um, I mean, I think I go with Bama here. I mean, I think it's pretty simple. I think it's more of a low scoring game. I think both defenses kind of dominate. We saw what Oklahoma gave us when they played Texas, which is another good defense. They couldn't really hang in there. Came down to special teams punt return, but um, I don't really like this matchup either way. Either way you look at it, I think this is a good Bama offense, good Bama defense. Mateer's, still recovering from hand surgery. I'm thinking he's probably, very close to being back to what he was before the injury, but I don't think it's enough to take down probably the best team in the SEC. I know say what you want to say with A&M and Georgia, but in my opinion, I think this is the best team in the SEC. So I don't think they're going to lose a game at home. And I got the final score at 20-17. So I really think the defenses show up tomorrow, and Bama prevails and continues to roll on their way to Atlanta.
All right. 20-17. You got the
Yep.
under.
Yeah, it's an under for sure.
You touched on pretty much every point I was going to put at, and I'll just go ahead and say my score now. I have 20-17 as well.
Oh,
So, so yeah, I was debating honestly between 27-17 and 2017, just because I think Alabama could get a late touchdown similar to that Vanderbilt game, just kind of being able to cover the spread right at the end. They seem to like to do that a lot. Just Alabama as a whole, they like to control the game at the end of the game and then get a late score, just put it out of reach, final blow kind of thing. Uh,
yeah.
but I'm going to go with 20-17. And I just think this OU offense isn't good enough by any stretch. I think, like you said, their defense is great, but looking at that Tennessee game, the defense caused two interceptions and then a forced fumble that they returned for a touchdown. So the defense put up 7 points on their own and also gave them multiple times with good field position. So I do think John Mateer, not a bad quarterback by any stretch, not a bad offense by any stretch, but in terms of explosiveness, I think they lack it just a little bit. And I think this defense, field position wise, helps them out a lot with a lot of the drives that they get going. And I think against a Alabama team that is really good fundamentally and really good in all three phases of the game, it's going to be tough to consistently win in every phase in this game. So I think special teams is going to be a huge factor. The first team to mess up on special teams, whether it's a blocked field goal, missed field goal, muffed punt, something like that, big kick return, big punt return, is going to win this game. And I believe Alabama's got the nod there. So I'm giving Alabama 20-17, but I do think it's going to be close, but I definitely think it's going to be under.
Yeah, definitely two smart defenses, two well coached defenses. Oklahoma's still playing for their season, by the way. I mean, they could still get in if they shock the world, but both teams find this game important. So
Oh yeah, no, they could absolutely get in still. So that's worth note for sure.
that's
And
a good one to watch for NFL scouts too. If you really like Ty Simpson, It's a really good game to watch. It's a good defense. So definitely worth the watch. Is that 3:30?
That is at 3:30, yeah. So,
Yeah. So,
I mean, he's just got to hope that his offensive line can keep that defensive line at bay. I mean, our Mason Thomas is a beast on that defensive line, so they're going to wreak havoc. So we're going to see how fast Ty Simpson's decision making is, how good his decision making is, where he can get the ball out, how fast he can get the ball out, because Brent Venables is going to dial up some defensive pressures that maybe he hasn't seen so far this year. But yeah, so we both got same score somehow for that one. Very similar. Right now, it seems like we're very similar. We'll see if it switches up on this next one. And this is the big one of the weekend, top 10 matchup. One that, you know, last year these teams played, I think it was two times total. Yeah, two times
yeah.
total.
Yep.
Georgia got the better of them both times, but both games were very close. This was actually the first time we saw Gunnar Stockton was against this team. So a really fun storyline there with Gunnar Stockton getting a chance to show that he is a completely different player. He managed to win that game then. Let's see if he can keep owning Texas now. And it is going to be Texas, number 10 in the country, in between the hedges at Athens at 7:30 at night for number 5 Georgia. And that spread is going to be 6.5, and the over/under is going to be 49.5. So really exciting one. You got Arch and Gunnar Stockton, two good QBs, two good coaches, Steve Sarkisian and Kirby Smart. What do you think?
Yeah. Definitely two good, well coached teams, two great coaches, of course. Um, lot of hype probably going into this game at the beginning of the season, right? Obviously, you mentioned they played it twice last year. Georgia played well in both, ended up coming out victorious. And this has been a tough season for Texas, right? Come in number one team in the country. You know, you go up against the best team in the country, right? So you start out 0-1, which is always hard, and then how are you going to respond? Did well against the other non-conference. They lose to Florida, which sucks. But ever since then, I feel like they've done a good job of playing complete football games. And last week they took on a Vandy team that was hot. I mean, that was a top 10 football team. Actually, it wasn't last week; it was 2 weeks ago. So they actually get a week of preparation, which is important. But I mean, Vandy is probably the best offense in the SEC, whether people like it or not. That's an efficient offense that's able to move the ball when they want. And I think it was big for their defense to shut them down for a majority of the game. I think that they let off the gas a little bit at the end there and let Pavia get back into it by like rushing three guys and letting them sit back there with all the time in the world, which ended up not hurting them in the long run. But it's important to note because I think Georgia's strength this year, which is interesting to say, is their offense. I don't think that this defense is overshadowing their offense like in years past, and that's kind of the weak point. So it's really interesting for me because I think there's one really strong side to this game, and then there's one kind of more of a toss up here, right? So you have the Texas defense versus the Georgia offense, which is strength on strength, and then you have the weakness on weakness of the Texas offense and Georgia defense. So it'll be really interesting. I think Texas does a really good job of kind of scheming their D linemen onto one-on-ones. They would do it against Vandy where they would make it look like they were rushing five guys. They wouldn't rush five guys, but they would make it so the offense had to adjust to what's called 5-0 protection. So they're just like taking either one-on-ones, right? So if you leave Colin Simmons one-on-one or Anthony Hill one-on-one, like that's not what you want to do. But they had to in order to, keep Pavia protected. And it's going to be a similar story against Stockton, who's going to only can really thrive when he's unprotected. But the way you beat him is if you get to him. So another big game for Arch, road test. But I mean, if you look at some of the road tests he's got, they're pretty significant already. So how much bigger is it going to get than this one? If there's anyone ready for this game, I think it's Arch Manning. And they've actually played really well on special teams. To be honest with you, they won the Oakland game off of special teams. Like that's a really important note that I don't think people like to bring up, but they're actually a really good special teams team and could come into play here with a good like punt return or setting up their offense or defense in good field position. So after all the app, I am going to have the Longhorns taking down the Bulldogs
Oh,
on the road between the hedges where they play the best. I have them winning 24-21. So I do think that both defenses will show up. I think Kirby Smart's defense is going to find a way to make Arch, you know, scramble or make them uncomfortable. And then obviously the Texas defense is one of the better ones Georgia offenses have seen. And then yeah, it's pretty much all I got. I mean, I think this is the best game of the slate by far. Probably one of the better ones we'll see until playoff time. So I'm interested to see how these teams adjust at halftime because that's a big storyline with Georgia too. And yeah, kind of a shocker there, but gut feeling for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, I love the pick. I love the boldness. You got to be a little bit bold with these picks, and I love that one for the playoff race because let's be real. I mean, this is going to be as close to a playoff game as you're going to get right now, without it being the actual playoffs. Like these two teams are probably both good enough to be in the playoffs. This atmosphere is going to feel like a playoff atmosphere. Texas really wants a win over Georgia. That's kind of the one thing they've been missing in the SEC since they joined, and I think it's probably been bugging them a lot to be like we haven't gotten to beat Alabama or Georgia since we joined the conference, and so it still feels like we're a step behind. So this is a big prove it spot for Texas and a huge prove it spot for Arch Manning. I actually do think that he comes ready, like you said. I just think I have so much faith in Gunnar Stockton being able to put it to him when it matters and make the big play, make the right play. I think I've seen Georgia do that time in, time out this year. Even if their defense is letting up a little bit more than usual, Gunnar Stockton finds a way to get a score or get what he needs, whether it's a field goal, whether it's a touchdown, whether it's just an extended drive to keep the defense a little bit more rested. Just anything they need, he's been able to get to. And I think the additions of Zachariah Branch and Noah Thomas have really been great with the combination of the tight end sets that Georgia likes to run with Delp and Lawson Lucky. So I think their offense as a whole is clicking very, very well. But let's be real. I mean that Vanderbilt game you talked about it a little bit that Texas played that game wasn't close. It really wasn't. And I know Vanderbilt like scared them, and it ended up being a 3-point game in the end. But I felt, as somebody watching from the outside, I never felt like Vanderbilt was a threat to win that game, the entirety of the game. Even when they made it closer, Texas was still in control. I don't think they ever dropped from being like a 97% chance to win. That's about as far as it got. So Texas showed last week that they can come out and dominate a good offense. They may be able to do that again against Georgia. I just think night game in Athens, I'm going to give the nod to the home team. I have it very toss up, but I'm going to give 27-24 Georgia to win this one in another really close game. I do have Texas covering that 6.5 spread. Myself, I'll probably bump it up to 7.5 and then just take Texas to cover. But yeah, I think both these teams, excellent. I think I'm just going to give the nod to the home team, kind of how I do in any game that I think is 50-50. So that's what I'm going with, 27-24.
I like it. I like it. I touched on it a little bit, but I think it actually is really important. But Texas coming into this game off a bye week is really important for Arch and Sark because they could, develop, they can install plays that, they're just not on tape yet. While Georgia had to prep for Mississippi State, which is a good team, right? They can't, it's not a bye week, right? You still have to play well and then turn around and play Texas. So, they're coming in fresh, and this is obviously a big test if Texas wants to, get back in the conversation because they desperately need it. And honestly, Georgia could afford this loss in hindsight, right? If they do lose this game, it's not the end of the world. But just coming from me, I just don't think that this Georgia team is a one-loss football team. I just think that they're due for another loss. Whether it could be now, it could be in the playoff, but they're losing again. So I'll just say it's now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a good point. I think they're playing with fire. They're playing very dangerous. I just think from anything I've watched, this Georgia team shows up for games like this really well. Sometimes, some of the teams that are middle of the conference, stuff like that, sneak up on Georgia. Big games, Kirby's just very, very good. Maybe other than Alabama, who's had their number as of recently. But anyways, that always is close regardless. But Kirby just against these big teams. I mean, we saw it against Tennessee. We saw it against Ole Miss. Now against Texas. It just feels like he's got an extra gear that he can kick into that I think Texas has, but I think it's going to be really hard to unlock that with Arch Manning and still his first year, first time playing at Georgia. I think it's the first time since the first like game of the season, essentially, that Texas is playing a really big game on the road. Let me actually double check that because I want to look about
We
what this.
played Florida on the road, so like
Yeah,
it's not like a ranked matchup or anything. That's not an easy place to play. And Florida was pissed off because they were coming off a few tough losses against big teams, and
yeah. No, I agree.
and
So I mean, on the road, it's been close every time. I'm looking at the OT, the other two games, OT against Kentucky, OT against Mississippi State. Um, so I think this game's just going to be incredibly tight the whole way. So I'm
yeah,
excited to
no
watch
doubt.
regardless of what happens. Glad that we're saving the graphic a little bit, being on opposite sides. So, we'll see who comes out right. But
Yep.
overall, this is just going to be an amazing football game. Just excited to watch two elite teams go at it. But yeah, Texas needs this one.
Yeah. Piggybacking off that really quick, because I'll just say it while we were yapping about it. Uh, the Texas plus 6.5 is going to be my best bet of the week, and it's simply just because I just think that this is just an even matchup that's not going to be more than a touchdown. If they get 7, I'll wear it. I'd be surprised if it is a whole touchdown. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked, but I think 6 is a lot. I think there's a lot of wiggle room with that number, so that's what I'll be taking. I think this team shows up, comes prepared with everything in the past, the bye week, all things considered, everything I just mentioned. I think they get it within that number. So that's my best bet. Been on a freaking cold streak, so hopefully get back in the column because my Boilermakers shut me up. But I think that I'll address it really quick because that was, a great selection. But, Ohio State's going to put in their backups at the end because why the hell would they play Arvell Reese against Purdue in 3 minutes to go? So
Yeah, that one hurt.
whatever,
I remember I
whatever,
was watching along with that one too. I was like, damn, Purdue actually might get a touchdown at the end of this game. And
whatever, man.
so, yeah, but with you going with your best bet, I like that. I'll just hop right into mine as well. So you have Texas plus 6.5 which works with what I got written down. And I'm going to do similar things. So it's a game that we just talked about earlier. I'm going Notre Dame minus 12.5. That's going to be my best bet. I just think this team has to blow people out in order to keep making their case. I think they really want a home game. And Notre Dame's just the kind of team that puts the belt on when they have a team that's inferior to them. So I'm gonna go with 12.5. I like that. I would even take it at 13.5. I'd probably take it at 14.5. We'll see how high I get that number up to, but that's what I got. Other one just to look out for: Duke and Virginia play at Duke this week. I'm taking Duke minus 5.5. I still think Virginia are frauds. It's worked out for me fading Virginia before, so I'm just again. Actually, it's worked out pretty much every time we faded Virginia.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I can't imagine they're a crazy good spread team. I don't really know, but I
Yeah,
like
I
it.
don't think so. They're playing with fire. They're not a good team in general. So they're gonna get knocked out of the ACC race. And then I got Memphis money line. They're somehow underdogs at Eastern Carolina or East Carolina. So that's
Hmm.
a random one to throw in there. Their backup quarterback's gonna be playing. That's why they're underdogs. But their backup quarterback, in my opinion, is better than their starter. So did a little research there. But that's what I got. The main one though, best bet for me if I had to give one, Notre Dame minus 12.5.
And that's week 12 for you people.
Yeah, that's week 12 as a whole. We'll come back and see how these results did. Once again, we're going to have those playoffs. So some of these games are important for the playoff picture. We did
Yep.
film a playoff prediction video a couple days, or I guess yesterday we filmed that. So that'll hopefully be out in the coming time. So when you guys see this, hopefully those videos will actually also be out and you can hop over and see our national championship prediction, things like that. So let you know what your guys' picks are down below. If you guys have best bets, if you're gambling on anything, and best of luck to everybody and their picks this week. And hopefully we get another great weekend of college football.
Yes, sir. Into the witching hour of the college football season. So
Shout out Scott Hansen.
should be a good one.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll see you back again probably on Tuesday.
Yes, sir. Peace.